Welcome back to the Spiritually Wired podcast. My guest today is none other than Kathleen Cameron. Kathleen is a CEO, she's a manifestation mentor, and she is someone dedicated to helping people build wealth from the inside out through identity work and universal law. This conversation today, we go to so many different places. We explore how her relationship and understanding of manifestation has changed over the years. She talks about belief and how to actually build belief when maybe there's no proof. We talk about identity work and what that actually looks like. And she has a really fun tool that she uses to help you embody the identity of who it is that you are becoming. I asked her a question that I heard her ask herself on stage recently, which is, what are you pretending not to know? And we just have this beautiful conversation around that. And we officially announce the launch of My Manifested Life. My Manifested Life is a compilation book, and it brings together 16 authors, 16 powerful transformational stories of manifestation. And guess who's in the book? Me. Yes, I said yes to this project, this vision that Kathleen had over a year ago. And today is the day where it actually goes out into the world. And so we talk about the process and why it was important for Kathleen to bring this book to life. She is our lead author. And so if you are listening to this podcast today, thank you. We are sharing all the links in the show notes for you to purchase a copy of the book. I'm telling you, there are so many good stories. And as she said, the book is really living social proof of what is possible when you really embark on this journey. Without further ado, my friends, enjoy this episode with Kathleen Cameron. Hi, I'm Renée Walker, a mindset mentor, speaker, and lover of all things spiritual. I believe that at our core, we are all spiritually wired for love, peace, success, and abundance. Here on the podcast, we're diving into mindset, wellness, and business, but always through a spiritual lens. Let's just say we're going deep, but we're keeping it light. So let's elevate your life from the inside out, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. Welcome to the Spiritually Wired podcast, Kathleen.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It's so beautiful. And I love your color coordinated background of books.
Thank you. It
So
is a labor of love. I
Well,
always joke that I can't find my books, though. I have to think about what the color of the book cover is.
well, my books are in 7 different places, so you're
I
you're
know.
doing amazing having it all right there. I love it.
Exactly. I love it. Well, Kathleen, I have been wanting to have you on the podcast since we launched about a year and a half ago.
hmm
And there is a special reason why you are on today, which we are going to get into. But before we do, I just would love to begin by asking you how your relationship, your understanding of manifestation has evolved over the years.
Yeah, what a beautiful question. I think when I first began in manifestation, I would have called it mindset work. Like I would have said that I took a course to better my mindset, for me to understand how my programming was and why I thought the way I thought and things like that. And very, very quickly, it moved into this, okay, well, there's more than mindset here. Like, this actually has a lot more to do with spirituality than mindset alone. And so it was probably within a year I started talking about manifestation. And really, for me, that meant the incorporation of the spiritual side of life, but also the personal growth and development side. And even at the beginning, I probably would have told you that I was really teaching and understanding how to be a peak performer, like that peak performance, like how to become more disciplined and committed and like take massive action. But my approach now and how I see things has nothing to do with performing at all. It has nothing to do with necessarily even peaking. It has more to do with expansion, and it has more to do with becoming a fuller expression of my true self, that soul's expression through the personal growth and development of the individual that I am with the mind and the body. And so it's definitely changed and evolved. And even before I would have said to you, probably a few years into my journey, I'm a manifestation teacher or a manifestation expert. Like they wanted my title to go up on that billboard we're going to talk about soon, but the Times Square billboard. And I had such a hard time giving them a title because for me, it's not about what I do, it's about who I am. And so manifestation has actually become a part of me. It's part of the way in which I move. It's the truth that I operate from now. And I live manifestation in my everyday life. And I also have the beautiful opportunity to help other people live in it as well. Like live in their truth. Yeah.
Yeah, I find sometimes it's the word itself can be misunderstood, or some people will use the term manifesting from there's a physical tangible thing that I want to manifest, whether it's a car, a home, or whatever it may be. And similar to you, I just feel that manifesting is so much bigger than that. It really is about tapping into your soul's purpose, your fullest expression, and
Yeah.
that is, yeah, so much
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah. And it's really understanding too that once you do tap into that fuller expression and once you allow the soul to really be perceived and to become like the focal point and the guiding and the directing part, that through that grand expression of yourself, you do change your 3D physical world. Like you can manipulate the reality with which you live in. So, yeah, it's about feeling good and it's about finding peace and happiness and fulfillment, but it also is about changing the way in which your life actually looks. And that's where we see magic and miracles in terms of curing illness and disease, especially things like depression, autoimmune diseases. Those are the number one things that we
Mhm.
see like in people's reality that they actually change. And then, of course, things like manifesting your dream house and car and business and, fertility. Man, that's a big one right now. We have a lot of people that are, being told that they're like infertile or they're fertility challenged and manifesting these beautiful miracles in their life naturally, but also things like money and stuff like that. And so there is this all encompassing view that I love to hold about, yes, tapping into the soul and being very spiritual and experiencing all that incredible feeling of truth within you, but then also the ability to understand that we can change our reality. We can make it more of what we want it to be. And that's what this is about. That's what we're here for, right? Not just to accept as it is, but to love and be grateful for it as it is, but to expand its ability. So to expand your life to be better, whatever that means for you.
You're speaking to something that I know personally I've wrestled with on my spiritual journey, and that's the tension between living in the physical world. So let's call it like that 3D reality,
Yeah.
and also like my spiritual self. Like I have moments where I just want to like leave everything and commit myself to God, really. And so there's always this tension that exists. Do you find that for you?
No, not for me
Okay.
because yeah, no, it's not something because I've chosen to understand
Mm.
what this like my reason for being my raison d'etre is really to be here to help advance humanity and not through spirituality alone. So my reason for being here isn't so that everybody remembers that they're God within themselves, like it's not for them to tap into their God essence and then that's it. It's to create from the God essence. It's to
Mm.
create from that higher spiritual perspective and understanding. And so there is a lot of healing that we have opportunities for in our world right now. There's a lot of things that are happening because of a lot of patterns and programs and wounding that generations are teaching further generations. And so I understand that the solution is a spiritual solution. The solution isn't a physical thing, it's a spiritual thing. But once the spiritual solution is ignited in each individual, then that individual, through their spirituality, then goes and makes change on humanity. And that's where we see the advancement of our race as a whole. So it isn't to sit and meditate and feel good
Mhm.
and that to be the space. It's not to go, I could go and find a nice cabin in the woods that's quiet and be in my spirit 24/7 and meditate and feel joy, peace, and love and bliss every single day. But that doesn't make an impact on humanity necessarily, right? So for me, I understand
Mm.
what my call to good is and what I'm here to do. And so I am still supposed to be in this world and helping to ascend to this world. There was a point in my journey where I got very, very spiritual and I loved it so much and it felt so incredible and it felt so good. And I'm like, okay, I just want to stay here. I want to stay here. I want to stay here. And then I realized, but that's not the human experience,
Oh,
right? The human experience is to ascend and to expand and to evolve and to help the rest of humanity to do that. And so that's why I'm out of this world a lot, but I'm in this world a lot too.
love it.
Yeah.
That's a great way to share it. Like the I love the word aliveness. Recently, like
Wow.
someone was talking about, I had someone on the podcast and they were talking about even like being grounded as being alive. And that has like just there's so much to that, that we are here as having this human experience for a reason. I mean, at one point we will transition and we'll have the full spiritual experience, but learning to hold space for both, I find, is such a is so profound.
Yeah, and that's why I really, really believe in like experiencing the fullness of your human and
Mhm.
not to try to disregard it. So that's where spirituality can become a bit tricky, is because we move into spirituality and then we want to escape the human experience. And it becomes this almost this avoidant piece where we start to avoid some of the emotion that we are really meant to spiritually experience. But I love this word aliveness, and I want to give like an example. I'm not sure how that person discussed it with you, but the way that I actually talk about this aliveness, so I'm going through a time in my life right now where my body and my hormones and everything are really changing and it's feeling very different. And so I'm evolving. Okay, beautiful. And every cycle that I have, I'm experiencing certain things that my human mind wants to tell me are pain, cramping, can't sleep, discomfort, like all of these things, like moodiness and blah, 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 primarily in the uterus itself. So I noticed myself wanting to say, like, oh my gosh, my periods are getting worse and this and that and the other thing. And then I started to say, you know what, my uterus is just angry. She's just angry, and I was kind of joking. But then I'm like, no, no, I can't really joke about this. So I made a conscious decision to ask myself, what is really going on? And so I have now been saying that my uterus is alive. It's alive. She's really alive. And when I say that, it takes away any negative feeling about her, what she's doing, like how she's evolving, experiencing it, releases judgment. And then it's even making the experience of it not be so negative for me. And because that's what's really happening. Like that's what we're really, really saying, is that we're alive. It's alive. It's working. It's functioning. It's doing what it's meant to be doing in this moment. And that's just been helpful for me.
That's a great way to reframe it. And I appreciate how you speak of it, where there is a detachment from, oh, it's my human mind having these thoughts. It's these
Yeah, oh yeah.
thoughts are not, it doesn't mean that it is who I am. And I think that that is so important for people as well to understand
Yeah,
that
that's
detachment.
a major part of what I've been practicing over the past 6 years since I've been in this space and in this work and like really, really learning about myself. The understanding that what is happening, like I'm aware of it, It's not who I am, and it doesn't define me. It's something that's being perceived, so to speak, right? And
Hmm.
so to be a witness to your own emotional status and your own emotional state, and to be a witness to what's going on within your mind is the best possible way to change it, than to be within it, judging it. Like most people are avoiding emotion. They do something to avoid emotion. Like a people pleaser wants to please others to avoid the emotion of not pleasing somebody, or somebody not liking them, or not feeling like the thank you so much for doing that for me, like you're so amazing, like the validation, right? So you're avoiding the potential feeling of rejection. But if you allow yourself to witness your emotions and not avoid your emotions, you can sit there and be like, "Yeah, I'm crying right now. Yeah, I'm really sad right now." And you're like, "Yeah, it's good. Like this is life. Like I'm just going to sit in it for a few minutes." And then you let it go. You let it move and through. So like I always say like, "Oh, you know what? I think it's time for me to go have a good cry." Okay, I'm going to go cry it out. And I let the emotion move through, knowing that it's not real and it's not self-defining.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest aha was learning, recognizing that we are not our thoughts. It's so simple, yet it's so incredibly, and we're not our emotions either. So
Yeah.
you were speaking about like the avoidance piece, and it was bringing back to me. So we were at an event together, and you were speaking on stage. My friend Sarah Lambert was hosting this event, and you asked a question, which is, "What are you pretending not to know?"
Yeah.
And I've been really, so I have a writing practice every morning, and I've really been curious about that. And it's been interesting to kind of witness what shows up because every day has been different. But I'd love to ask you that question. Like what maybe it was in the past, but like what were you pretending
Yeah.
not to know? What was holding you back?
Yeah. Oh, so many things along the way, for sure, hands down, but some of the biggest ones along the journey. So, when I moved into this work, I noticed a lot of limiting beliefs around my body and the way I looked, the way my body looked, and also the way that I treated my body. So there was a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, embarrassment, self judgment, all kinds of stuff. And it caused me a lot of stress. And so when I got into this work, I realized okay, so what if I actually let go of the judgments for my body, for how it looks and how I'm treating it, and just allow myself to move into the space of love? Just to be unconditionally loving towards myself. And so I did that. That was life changing. That was one of the most life changing shifts in belief that I've ever made. And I decided just to love myself at 320 pounds. And I decided to love myself while like going out for dinner and eating sugar and drinking champagne and never exercising. Like it was just like, no matter what I do, I'm just going to love her. And I did that. Life changing. It changed everything about my reality. It was like I freed myself from this cage and then I went on with my life. But then in 2022, I was planning my word for the year. I always have a word every single year. And I'm like, okay, what's the word for the year? And that's when I sat down in late 2021 and I asked myself a similar question. What am I pretending not to know? And so from that elevated level of consciousness and awareness, I realized, okay, you love yourself, yes. But if you really loved yourself, you would care about how you're treating your body. So that was a thing that I was pretending was like it was okay to be drinking the alcohol and eating all the bad foods and never to be exercising and like not really caring. So I moved into this beautiful place of like, okay, well, I'm not going to judge myself for this awareness now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move myself into an even higher level of self love that now includes treating my body with respect.
Mhm.
And so that was one.
This is so divinely of course, right? All of our conversations are divinely orchestrated, but I brought that question inside the Spiritually Wired membership yesterday.
Ooh,
And
okay.
it was really interesting, the conversation that was showing up, because what often happens, and I mean, I'll see that as a meditation teacher, is people are afraid to be with their thoughts because if you accept the knowing, so whatever it is that you're pretending not to know, if you allow yourself to know it,
Mhm.
often what we think is like we have to take action. It means that our life is going to be ripped apart. We're going to have the hard conversation, which is going to hurt someone, leave the relationship,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. So we tend to catastrophize, which is how the mind is wired in the first place. So we were just having that conversation in when you allow yourself to be with, okay, this is what I've been pretending not to know. Also give yourself the time and grace and compassion to be with it without doing anything. And this is exactly what you just said. I love it. It's loving yourself in that moment of awareness.
Yeah. Not to judge it, because
Yeah.
that's the piece that we will do right away, is we will
Hmm.
judge it. It's like, oh my gosh, we have this awareness, something that's going to literally change our life and help us to shift onto a new timeline, and then we're mad at it. And it's like, no, like, don't do that. Just let yourself be aware, and okay, that's the truth that's been sitting in the consciousness and you just haven't looked at it, but now you're looking at it. So just looking at it alone is the work. And then you can ask yourself, well, if I'm going to take action on this thing, what is the outcome that I desire? Because I think that's also the other piece, is like the second thing I'll tell you is, for the first 2 years in this work, yeah, 2 years, I knew that my marriage wasn't the way that it could be. It wasn't this fulfilling, beautiful, loving, passionate thing that I would desire, and that I knew that Chris probably wouldn't desire for himself either. And so in 2022 as well, that was the year I decided to actually face that truth as well and have a conversation with him. But the first thing that I had to do when I stepped into the knowing of what I knew was to say, okay, I'm afraid that this is going to go really bad. I'm afraid that this is going to be a problem. I'm afraid that this is going to be deterioration or fighting or conflict and all these things. So I sat with myself first and said, well, what would I love? Like, what are all the possibilities of how this outcome could go? And if I could visualize the best case scenario, what would that be? Right? And so then it became, okay, the two options are that I have this conversation with Chris and we fix it and we decide together that we both want the same thing and we become an even better family unit. Or the second option could be is that we realize that we want different things and we go our separate ways, but our relationship transitions into something beautiful and amicable. So when I did that and I made the decision that those were the two options that I was willing to even look at or allow, any other option dissipated away. Because I was like, it's not going to happen if I don't give it any life, if I don't give it any energy, if I don't fear it, if I don't make it a possibility, it won't be. And so then it made the conversation and what happened after that so much easier, because I was deciding what that outcome was going to look like.
It brings to mind like the idea of like detached detachment, where it's you were detached from the like actual outcome, but at the same time there was an attachment to it being for everyone's highest and best, amicable.
Oh, yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a great. I love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You were talking about your word for the year, and one of the things that I wanted to bring to you. So my word this year is believe. And
Mm.
it came to me because and it's something that I've shared on the podcast before, but last year I was on a team call and we were hosting this, bigger event for women. And we were talking about the sales piece to it. And I remember like in that moment, I just said, oh no, this event is sold out. It wasn't sold out technically, but I knew it was going to be sold
You
out.
knew
But
it
the
was, yeah.
thing that stopped me, Kathleen, was that I said it, and it's not about what I said. It's that I had this full body kind of knowing, and it made me pause because I thought, oh, wait a second, this is what belief feels like. And then the important question, do I have that same belief in everything else that I do? And the answer was no. Like I knew the areas and the places where that belief was not quite there. Having been with you recently in person, I really feel a strong embodiment of belief and trust in you.
Mhm, mhm.
So
Yeah.
here's me asking you, how have you built your belief?
Yeah. This is powerful because a lot of people seem to think, for whatever reason, that this like self belief and self trust and trust in the universe and faith and the belief in this work and everything is kind of natural and was it just came to me and like here I am. And I'm like, oh no, like if you could knew known me 6 years ago, I didn't believe in anything. Like there was not I didn't believe in myself. I didn't trust myself. I lacked confidence. I was shy, self-conscious. I actually really, really didn't like myself at all. I always wished I was somebody else. I was more like someone else. And then I, of course, had no spiritual beliefs whatsoever. I thought I was just this body, like having I wouldn't even say a human experience. I just thought I was a human, just like living, surviving, and like trying to get through this life. So it was really the embodiment of a lot of the teachings that I learned from many different teachers over the years, whether that was an in-person teacher, virtual teacher, a book teacher. Like, some of my greatest mentors passed away before I was even around. And so I think it's so beautiful that we get to experience all of this knowledge and these testimonies and be able to embody them for ourselves. But the first thing that I will say is like, I really had to make sure that I believed that it was possible that I could change belief, right? Like, there's so many people that still think that they can't change their belief systems, that you just are who you are and you can't change it. And like, well, that's what I believe. And so I'm going to keep believing that. But belief is a choice every single time. Like we choose to believe something. And so that awareness that I could change a belief was the most powerful thing. And so that's when I started to like, okay, so what would be a better belief for me to have right now? And like, okay, so if I believe this is bad and wrong, then what if I thought that this was good instead? And like, I just started like really being curious about the world and like why we do things the way we do and why do we believe what we believe and is it true and like what if it's different. And then I started playing around with actually changing beliefs and saying, well, you know what, I'm going to believe something different today instead. I'm going to believe that today is going to be a good day instead of a bad day. I'm going to believe today that someone's going to bring me a random coffee from out of nowhere and see what happens. I'm going to believe that I can start making more money. I'm going to believe that I'm going to go live and more people are going to follow the more I go live. And I just started to really tell myself these stories that started to harden. They started to become truth. They weren't true for me when I first began to believe them, but they started becoming very true for me very, very quickly. I recognize that people can say things to me and I accept the belief of what they say almost instantly. And it's like, why am I accepting the belief of an outside source, but not accepting a belief of me being the source of my beliefs? Why do I question that? And so I made the decision that I'm the source of my beliefs. That's it. And so I choose what to believe in. I choose what I consume. I choose what I understand to be this world and how it shows up. And taking ownership back of my belief system. And so now I play around with it all the time. And some of the beliefs that I reprogrammed before, I've reprogrammed with something else now. Because you expand and you ascend. And so I used to believe $100,000 day was hard, and now I think it's so easy. And so now it's $1 million day that I think is easy. That's the belief that I'm currently allowing myself to accept. Is that to make $1 million in a day is easy, and I do know that's easy. So now I'm just in the receivership of that sort of thing. But it's not from this belief that I need to change my beliefs or I'm not going to get what I want. It's now understanding that like I can change my beliefs and it'll change my reality and like it's fun. So it's a detached state. But yeah.
Mhm. That's very powerful. I love how you said, "I'm the source of my beliefs," and then understanding that, then it
Mhm.
gives you it's so much more empowering because, as you said, you don't even and it's a moment to moment decision of choosing to believe, and you get to choose whatever you wanna believe, really, at the end of the day,
You
even though
do.
it feels like sometimes the limiting beliefs that we have were not by choice, and yet even though they may have been programmed in a way where we weren't quite aware of them, we still are choosing to stay in that belief.
Of course.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is like choice and awareness are kind of two different things. Like I think sometimes people think that like to make a choice can be on a conscious or an unconscious level, right? Like I can be unaware that I've chosen to do this. And the reason that what I'm unaware of is that I had the choice at all, right? So it's not that I'm making an unconscious choice. It's that I'm allowing choice to not be there, to not be possible, to not be visible. For example, you go see a doctor, they diagnose you with a medical diagnosis. And the moment that you accept that that's true for you, like the doctor says you have cancer, the doctor says you have this autoimmune disease, or you have diabetes, or whatever, and they declare that, and they plant that idea into your subconscious mind, and you accept it, and then you make a phone call, Mom, guess what? I just got diagnosed with cancer. You had a choice on whether or not you believe that to be true for you, and you made a choice to believe it. But in that moment, it was below your level of awareness to realize that you had the choice to believe it or not. So this is where I come in and I'm like, okay, in moments like this where somebody wants to give you a diagnosis, I personally would not believe that. I would stop right there and go, okay, so this physician, who's an expert at what they do in their field, has looked at all of these things to determine that I have cancer. And that can be what they believe, and that could be what the diagnosis is and the medical tests are showing. But for me, I'm going to manifest healing and the cure and a healthy outcome. So I'm going to actually decide in this moment that I'm healthy, that my body is healthy. Yes, my body might be right now working towards clearing something in a healthy way. You know what I mean? And so like I would never accept that anymore. And that's part of why healthcare for me doesn't resonate with the way in which I see the world, because I used to be that person telling people, you have this, you have that, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I was instilling beliefs in them every single day. And now I would practice medicine or be a nurse in a very different way today. It would be
Mm-hmm.
like, the outer world is trying to tell you that you have cancer, but I would actually prefer that you listen to healing modalities and like do this meditation, believe that you're healed and cured. Like I would do it different.
This is really interesting because it's the like you get to choose what you are going to believe, what you are breathing life into, and it's
Yeah.
either the diagnosis or health.
Yeah.
Right? Like being optimal. And that's where, like, what I'm appreciating the way that you're saying it and speaking as someone who was a nurse for many years, you
Mhm.
come to this conversation from experience is that it's not necessarily negating the what is, but it is choosing to bring your energy into what you are calling in versus the reality. And that's how we get stuck,
Yeah.
right? We get
Yeah.
stuck because we have the evidence of, well, this is the physical reality. Look around me. I don't have any money. I'm sick. I have all those things. And what you're sharing with us is choosing like belief. Why it can be so powerful is now you're bringing your energy into what it is that you actually want to create.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like the world is always presenting you with problems. That's what
Hmm.
like I kind of just find that we live in a world that's always presenting you with problems. They're events or circumstances of your lives. And so the moment that you're faced with a problem, I very quickly, as fast as I possibly can, I'm in the solution. So that doesn't mean like, oh my gosh, how do I go fix it? The solution is to be in the place where it's fixed. That's where you find the answer, not from the problem itself,
Yeah,
right? Like
not from the
there's a
fixing, but from that it is fixed. It's
yes,
healed.
there's a nuance there. So I immediately will say, okay, thank you God for showing me that this problem is already solved. Thank you. So immediately I've exited the problem. I'm like, this is solved. And so then the next thing I would say, what would I love to see happen next? What would be
Mm.
the best case scenario? What's the place that I want to observe next? What would I love to see instead? Right. And so when you resist something, it persists. And resisting something is to say, I don't like it. I need to fix it. This is a problem. It's broken. Let's go. But instead, the solution going to that place where it's already solved, it's already fixed. That's where the love is. That's where the joy is. That's where the celebration is. And that's where the healing is, right?
And this is the practice too, right? I can see how people would look at you and think, "Oh, she's not dealing with any of these things. She's got it figured. Her belief is at 100% all the time." And yet what you're sharing is that no, like it's a work. It's practice to stay in that place of belief. It's a constant choice, it's not a one-timer.
Yeah, and you get to evaluate, what you believe to be true and why you believe that, and to ask, like, where did it actually come from? And to look at it through a new lens, like, so let's say somebody wronged you in some way, they like manipulated you, or they cheated on you, or they stole from you. Like, those types of things, the very first place that we go to is judgment. They're wrong, they're bad, they're horrible people, they should be locked away, or you should never speak to them again, you should dismiss them, like, you should just, remove them from your life. And so from there, because you're placing judgment on the person, you then place that same judgment upon yourself. I was stupid. I fell for it. I was manipulated. Like, I'm weak. I'm embarrassed. I feel like a fool. My feelings are hurt, blah, blah, blah. And so from this like problem of somebody wronging you, you're now wronging somebody else and wronging yourself. And we're just caught up in this whole web of like, just personal, the personal mind telling a story that's just awful and disgusting. And we don't need to do that. And it makes our human experience horrible. So instead, it's like, okay, wait a minute. How can I look upon this situation differently? Is this person and their behavior really wrong? Did they intentionally manipulate me, lie to me, blah, 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 blah? Like, did they sit there and say, I can't stand Renee and I'm going to go after her and do this wrong, bad thing to her, And most of the time you find that people from their lens believe they have good intentions. Even when they do things that we would say are acting outside of integrity, in their own minds, they believe they have good intentions. They believe that they're still a good person. They believe that they're not doing anything wrong. And oftentimes, these awarenesses are opportunities for them to grow. And this is where they observe their wounding, their areas for healing. So to look upon them and be like, okay, is this person not worthy of the same love that I'm worthy of? That God's love, like, are they not worthy of healing, of growth, of ascension? Is this not a moment for them to elevate and ascend as well? And so when you move into that, be it observe but do not judge, notice the wounding, notice what's going on. Like, what would have caused somebody to behave in that way? Oh my gosh, it's probably how they grew up. It's probably how they learned. And then when you do that, guess what? You're not shaming yourself. You're not guilting yourself. You're not judging yourself. You're not feeling manipulated. You don't feel like a fool. You don't feel like you were used. And suddenly you're like, wow, this was about them, wasn't it? This was their behavior. This wasn't me. I'm witnessing and observing their behavior. That is freedom. To be able to do that is absolute freedom for your life, because you will not be taken out and taken down by other people's behavior going forward. But you have to examine your beliefs. Like, why are you suddenly going to this place of judgment and dismissal? Because you were taught that yourself. And to me, that's not I love the saying, take the high road, right? It means something so different to me now. It doesn't mean like, I'm going to take the high road and be better than you. No, it actually means the high road is to have compassion, to have grace, to have understanding. Yes, maintain boundaries, trust me. You're not going to keep somebody around in your life that keeps doing that sort of thing, right? So you keep those boundaries, but you don't have to go to the place of self-loathing and judgment and embarrassment and shame because somebody else's belief system isn't aligned with yours. Anyways.
No, it always brings me back to in the Course in Miracles, right? Choosing love versus fear. It's like in those moments when fear is present, all of those negative emotions, like how can I choose love in this moment? And that's the spiritual component, exactly as you were
Yes.
saying at the beginning of the conversation, right? Is having that coming from that place of unconditional love, which is not always easy as a human. Another piece that you were just weaving in there, Kathleen, is, and even kind of coming back to like the belief piece of choosing to stay in, coming back to like the being healed, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
choosing to be in the place where the solution already is fixed. It's not, I'm not staying in the problem, I'm staying in the solution. It was, what it was bringing up to me was the identity piece work. And you have a cool, so you have your KCB identity, which I just would love for you to expand on that.
Yeah, I love this so much. I've done this over the years multiple times, but I end up creating these like titles or names for the next level, grandest version of myself. And at first, I kept it kind of quiet, but then I found the louder I got about it, the more the rest of the world would like give it back to me. And I was like, okay, well, they're helping me, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna put it out there. But yeah, so there was Kathleen, there was millionaire Kathleen, and then I went to KC, which was like my multi-millionaire version of myself. She was like my 100 million KC, and now we're more than halfway to 100 million. So I'm like, okay, well, I gotta get rid of that identity because that's already done. That's already inevitable. So now it's the KCB. So all I did is take KC and add a B to it for me to identify as an elevated version of myself from who I was even yesterday, And it's not about billions of dollars. It's about the impact that resides in
Mhm.
someone that has that kind of circulation going on in their life. It's the level of influence that they have in the world and how much they're changing the collective consciousness through whatever work that it is that they do. But somebody who is at that place in their life where they have that level of awareness, they have that level of impact, that level of influence, there is a belief system that lies in their identity. They believed that they were worthy of all of that. They believed that they were influential enough to have their work, whatever it is, be impacted by millions or billions of people on this planet. And there's a significance there to the impact that they want to make. And you have to believe in that. Like when I first started my business, I was like, okay, you know what? I'd love to help 350 people in coaching programs this year. And then as I started ascending, it became thousands of people. And then it was like, oh, I'd love to help 100,000. And then very quickly it became millions of people. And I was like, okay, millions of people. Like, Kathleen, like, you have to believe that you can change the world to have that level of impact. And I never even thought I could change my own life, never mind change the whole world. So it is this kind of like bold, daring stepping into of an identity that I do believe that I have been put here to change the world. And it's not alone, I'm not saying that, but that I'm the visionary of a movement that changes humanity. And we're in the beginning stages of that right now, for sure.
I love how like you bring just a lightness to it. And I think for anyone who's listening, it's such a great question for yourself is like, what is that level? What is that identity? And to name her, I think is so fun. And I'm feeling inspired to spend some time on that because it can represent, as we were saying earlier, like the fullest expression. So money is one aspect, and impact, health, vitality, like
Yeah,
all of it. What a fun kind of way. And I think like part of this process, this journey, so much of it too is like we need to keep it light and enjoy this whole experience that we're on.
totally. And the other piece too is like when you can, in the moment, feel what it feels like to be yourself naturally in who you believe you are today. And then you can go in your mind to the new identity and you can actually be aware of the separation. That's where you can now embody it.
Mhm.
Because I think most people, they don't see the difference. It's like, my grandest version is this, that, and the other thing. And then you wake up in the morning, you're like, okay, I'm going to go be my grandest version. But then you can't really feel the difference. So you don't know, like, but who am I being and how do I know? So when I created KCB, she had a power. this feeling, this energy. It was magnetic and electric. And when I wrote it out and then gave her the name, and then I got it put onto a necklace. I have a diamond crusted Cuban necklace that I put KCB on. And so that to me represented her. Like she's just magnificent and extraordinary and like out of the average, not normal type of energy and feeling. And so then immediately once I did that, I'm like, oh, okay, now I feel the difference. And so I can tell you, like this, which version of myself I'm in a moment, right? I don't question it. I don't second guess it. It's like every day I'm going to show up as that version. And now I know what it feels like to not be in her. And so that's how I find like giving it a name. You can say it's an alias, but I don't like that because it's not an alias. It's who I am. It's the truth. It's a remembering, right? And so alter ego, you can use that name too, but for me it's not something I want to turn off. I want to stay her and be her every day. So that's why I like just calling it the truth.
Yeah. I love because it's about the showing up. So I mean, and you've had a tremendous transformation like on a health level, which you were referring to earlier, and yet it happened because you chose to start showing up differently.
Oh
And
yeah.
so there's the action piece, and that's the great thing about the identity is now, okay, how am I, what boundaries am I setting? How differently do I speak and show up on stage or in on a podcast or whatever it may be when I'm in this version. And so it helps to kind of get that clarity, which sometimes, as you were saying, can feel like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is that I want. It helps you show up in that version, which is
Yeah.
so powerful.
And one thing I want to say too, I'm going to try to find the page because this was a really, really beautiful awareness. And I didn't see it for myself until I read this recently again. So this is my first book, Becoming the One. And my beautiful friend, my very first mentor in this work, Bob Proctor, wrote the foreword. There's a sentence in here that is very, very powerful. Okay. In this book, she explains how she put her ego aside and brought a halt to listening to other people's opinions of her. She delves into how she altered her own self value and created a new belief about herself that continually serves her and her highest good. Put
Mm,
your ego aside.
yeah.
Okay. So, ego doesn't always mean thinking you're amazing. It doesn't mean having a big head. Like we think, oh, that person has a huge ego. Well, you know what? Somebody who hates themselves, who minimizes themselves, that devalues themselves, that doesn't think that they're worthy, that they're not good enough, that speaks negatively about themselves, they have a huge ego. Like that was such an awareness for me. I was
Mm,
like, nah, your egoic mind is telling you messed up stories, making it about you, taking everything personal, and minimizing you to keep
yeah.
you small. I want you to go the other way. I want you to put that ego aside and ask, well, how would God see me? And see yourself in that way. And so anything that tries to minimize who you are, it's just not true and it's not real. Even like my drive. I am the most driven woman you will ever meet in your life, and I'm so proud of that. It is one of the greatest qualities that I have. It took me a long time to say that because it felt like to be driven was like wanting for materialistic things. You know, the world tries to tell you that. But if you allow your ego to really, really drop and you let yourself really step into your truth, I am so driven that I'm going to change this world. Yeah.
Mm,
It's not a bad thing. That's an excellent thing. We need more people in this world that are driven to change humanity.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And this question, how would God see me?
Mm.
So now this is going to be the next question that I keep writing about
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
if someone again is listening and you're not sure, like, what is my identity? Meditate on that, write on that, question that, like, how
Beautiful.
would God see me? Like, what a beautiful prompt for someone because it expands you in so many different ways that the
Immediately.
mind, the ego can't even think of. It's completely different.
Yeah. And God does not judge.
No. He
So
does
like,
not.
no, not at
And
all.
God sees us in our fullest expression because that's who we are.
Yeah. And that has become, when I've allowed myself to tap into that same place, I now see people in their greatest expression. And
Mhm.
that's why the work that I do is so powerful and magical, is because I hold you to that greatest expression. I'm not going to let you tell me some sob story about what you've been through in your life and why you're a limitation. I'm actually here to remind you that you are not, that you were never limited, that you are in your highest and greatest expression right now. You're just not seeing it. So that's truly what this mentorship is about, this spiritual awakening, this ascension, this truth remembrance, and what I'm here to do. That's why I have such a hard time defining my work, is because, yes, I teach, but I also I hold you up here, right? And it's that holding of the limitless version of you that people require the most in this world. So
Absolutely. And you can't define that with a title, right? There's not one word. Okay, Kathleen, the reason why today is the day, so this podcast is going alive on the official day of the My
oh,
Manifested
good.
Life book launch.
Yay.
So if you are listening to this right now, the book is available. And this is a compilation book. There are 16 authors, 16 stories, and we are sharing all individual manifestation stories, Kathleen being the lead author in this book. And for me personally, I was at your event a year ago. It was actually June 2025. I was sitting in the room. It was my first time actually being in your physical presence. And I remember sitting there, and you and Deepika, who is the owner, the founder of Soul Spark Press, who has published this book, you were on stage and you started sharing about this book, that this vision that you had. And once again, I personally just had this full body yes, and went home, didn't even question it, filled out the application, and here we are now a year
A
later,
year
which is
later.
so incredible. Why was it important for you to bring this book to life? Because I know you've written your own books. There's a lot of different projects that you work on. What was the meaning of it for you?
There was, I would say, probably 2 to 3 reasons why I really wanted to do this book. So the first thing that I have found over the years is the number one thing that helps to change other people's beliefs is to see it in someone else, social proof. So to be able to hear other people's stories of how they moved through life in this kind of art of ascension and allowed themselves to manifest whatever that experience is for themselves, is some of the most powerful ways, because as you read a story, you see yourself in the story, you see the struggle, you see the relief, but then you see the outcome that this person has. The place that they're at now where they weren't once before. It becomes inspired in spirit. So these stories, they carry God's essence within every single one of them. They're the solution to the problem that the reader is potentially sitting there in that moment. So the first thing is to provide social proof, real life examples from people who are actually embodying this work, who are having spiritual awakenings, who are transforming their lives, who are manifesting dreams, who are freeing themselves from the prisons of their own minds, over and over again. All these, they're beautiful examples. So that's the first thing. The second thing was, I really do understand for myself that the first kind of phase of my ascension journey was to figure out how to ascend for myself, to figure out how to rise, how to elevate in consciousness, and to start to receive things and show up more visibly and become a best-selling author and be on a Times Square billboard. And I went through all of those things, but I realized that where the true work is happening is when a leader starts to then influence others and elevate and raise others. So the vision for me is okay, well, I would love now, I've been a best-selling author multiple times now, but I would love to experience that and be alongside others as they do it. And so, for these 15 authors, me being the 16th, to be able to choose in that moment to become a best-selling author, to then write the chapter, submit it, get it edited, be vulnerable. Like the writing process is healing in itself. You become a different person while you tell your story. It's really, really powerful. And then now that we have this book coming out to like be visible and to be seen, like we were in Times Square in the middle of the week, right around when the Knicks won NBA Finals, and there was like thousands of people in Times Square, and we were up on all our faces are up on that billboard. It's a level of visibility that's like nothing else. And now we have our book launch party. I'm already booking some media to talk about the book too. A couple radio stations in Canada want me to come on, so it's just the beginning of that. And it's about elevating other people. And the impact that this is going to have. And then the third thing that I would say is like this is going to be an artifact, a legacy that will live on beyond us, this book. So when we're not here anymore, our kids, our grandkids, their kids are going to be finding this book and reading it and hearing these stories of ascension and these stories of creating solutions for our lives and be influenced. So it has an impact even beyond our lifespan, which I think is beautiful.
Absolutely. And it has been such a transformational journey. I know on my end, it was interesting because I've been writing a solo book for a number of years, and for some reason, I keep stepping away from it. I keep coming back. I know timing is what it is, and yet this here, I thought, oh, writing a chapter will be so much easier, and it was surprisingly not. Because it is like, okay, how do you choose the stories, the message that you want to bring in a shorter, right, with fewer
Exactly.
words.
More
And
succinct.
it was so impactful and so powerful to do that. And we were guided in such a great way. And when we went, so you mentioned going to New York, it was the first time that for many of us we were meeting in person. So we
Yeah.
had kind of been on the journey online, but we had not met in person. And that was like to see the actual women, and all of the stories are just so incredible. I can't wait to hold it in my hands. I've yet to
Yeah,
touch
I
it and
know.
hold it.
Yeah, I know. It's being printed right now as we speak.
Mhm.
So by the time this airs, you'll have your copy. But
Yes.
yeah, it's really beautiful. It's stunning. It's an incredible book. These stories are life-changing stories. And I'm grateful and I'm excited. So go get the book. If you're listening to this, go and get it. Get it on Kindle. Get a paperback version. Buy one for a friend. I think it's a phenomenal Christmas gift. Stocking stuffer as well. These beautiful stories of manifestation. Um, for men and women, honestly. It's gonna be a life-changing day on June 30th.
Yes, I
Yeah.
cannot wait. And we've already manifested it to be a best-selling book. But if you're listening and you want to be a part of that manifestation, as Kathleen said, you can get a copy on Kindle, and then also order your book. And it truly is a book that will move you. So and thank you. Thank you for creating the space, because, this is the thing. You had, we have those nudges, we have those downloads, that intuition, and then there's like the taking action. But when you are following your truth, your fullest expression, you get to create and offer a space for other
Yeah.
people. And so I thank you for saying yes to that. And it's been such a fun way to be a part of your just your beautiful energy.
Yeah. And now going into your own book,
I
the
know.
completion of that and the release of
Mhm.
that is going to be that next level of growth for you.
Yeah, when I was in New York, I definitely got the, "Okay, this
Yeah.
is it. Now's the time." And yet I know I can trust that it happened in this way because I learned a lot from a writing perspective, from my own story, because before I think it was gonna be more of a teaching book. Now I can see how differently it will be because
Yep.
of what I've learned in this process.
Yeah. Yeah. This has been
Mhm.
preparation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Beautiful. Proud of you.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, Kathleen. You have, I'm big on energy and field, and when I'm with you, there's just a resonance to your energy that that I connect with at a soul
Yeah.
level. So
So
thank
beautiful.
you.
And I'll be hugging you real soon. Like
I know. I can't
next
wait.
week.
I can't wait. I get to hang out with
Is it
you.
next week?
It is. It
Yeah.
is next
Yeah,
week.
it's next
Well,
week.
or today, if you're
Wow. Today.
listening, or tonight, if you're listening,
Or
or today.
yesterday if you're listening on the
Yes,
next day.
exactly. Or it already has happened.
I love that. I love that so much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so much, Renee, for
Kathleen.
having me. And I'm grateful that you're a part of this first volume of my manifested life, and it'll live on and it'll make an impact. So I'm grateful.
Wonderful. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And as always, a reminder that you are spiritually wired for love, for success, for abundance, and for manifesting your wildest dreams. I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Spiritually Wired. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. It really makes a big difference for the podcast. And if you're ready to dive deeper and join a soul-led community, come be a part of the Spiritually Wired membership. With weekly live lessons and a rich library of recorded classes, it's designed to support you every step of the way on your spiritual journey. We currently have a special offer where you can receive your first month for half the price. You can find a link in the show notes or come check it out at reneewalkerwellness.com. Until next time, remember to take some deep breaths. Remember that you are spiritually wired.